Hello from the children of planet Earth.
What's up, y'all? We are back with another track breakdown. Today we are doing track 2 of the Golden Record, which is Children of Earth. You know, coming out of a more subdued, kind of lower energy song with greetings in the first track, you know, we sort of set the scope of what you're in for, letting you know, okay, you're in here for a journey, buckle up. And then boom, Children of Earth is the reason you buckled up. We throw you into the shit quick. It's big, it's loud, it's bold. You know, we've got some cool sampling stuff going on in it, as well as some really interesting motifs that are started here and then sprinkled throughout the whole album. I can't wait to talk to y'all more about this, so let's just get into this shit. So let's talk about the intro of the track. Right at the top, you've got these children's voices that you heard at the end of Greetings, the Children of Planet Earth. And then you also have these playground sounds that come in, but we'll talk more about our textures and stuff here a bit later because there's lots of stuff happening in there. The other components of the intro are this tubular bell that's playing and this organ. And the organ, for the most part, is just laying down a steady chord pattern, except for at the very end, right before the drop, as you can see in the waveform a bit, it changes up and actually matches the rhythm of the bells. That helps just to sort of set that rhythm in there a little bit and kind of do a little bit of pre-readiness right before this drop, just to kind of take some of that noise, extra noise out of the full chord pattern that you were hearing here. So let's listen to some of that.
Hello from the children of planet Earth.
And that's like 4 voices morphed together. It's, it was fun. We did a lot of layering on this track. You can hear the bells right now with the playground sound underneath. And then in come the chords. And then right here you can hear the switch up.
Hello from the children of planet Earth.
Okay, so let's talk about the drop, because the drop leads us into our biggest section of the song, which will lead us into our beat switch and breakdown moment. So the drop is comprised of adding a bunch of things, obviously, as most drops do. We got our bass, a big, fat, juicy bass line. We got some hefty drums that are comprised of a few different loops. We got this top drum loop, which adds, more of our higher presence. The kick kit has some really big kick presence, as you might guess from the name, as well as some really good percussive elements in the higher end that add some cool breathiness. And then we have this full kit kind of breakbeat moment that happens with the guitar when the guitar comes in during this big section. And so we'll kind of hop around through all of these and talk about it, as well as I promised, we'll get into all of this texture stuff. So before we get into the textures, let's listen to this big fat juicy bass. Yeah! Juicy! So that's the bass line. It's dripping in effects, as we talked about earlier. It's covered in the RC20, which is giving it a lot of that warble and kind of granular sort of weirdness, as well as a few different EQ automations happening in there to add to the warbly and weirdness. There's a lot of kind of fluctuations in the wobble parameter, as they call it. And then the drums, which are big and juicy all together, you can hear them. They all work pretty well together. Here's the loops individually. And as you can tell, that's a lot of the major sound, the major components that you're hearing of the drum kit. But this kick comes in. And that's what really gives us that low end in here. So you can hear those again together. They create this really nice sort of harmony moment. And then here is that break beat. And you can see I've chopped it up a little bit and sort of made it my own, made it a little bit fit the song, the flow a little more what I want. Highly recommend if you have loops or anything that you're working with, like chop them the fuck up. Anything that you can do to like add some originality as well as some fun, you know, kind of ear candy in there. I'm all about the ear candy. So you can hear the this breakbeat with the kick kit from earlier together. You can hear how they work. Which, you know, it just sort of helps give you some more of that low end in there with the kick, and it gives us the ability to take that kick and low end out, leading into this moment with the guitar. So let's listen to this guitar now. Big old screechy thing, you know? Just kind of wailing. This is actually me playing it on a synth, and then I have a guitar rig on there, which is one of the effects that I think it's stock. You can get like well, it's not stock, but I think you can get it like it comes with Ableton. Most copies of Ableton, like a light version of it. I don't have the full version, so you can hear it's still very effective without having to have the full ass thing. Though it's probably a purchase I'm going to be picking up soon because I really like the effects that you can get out of it. Obviously, you can tell it turns, you know, this synth into screaming guitar. There's also a delay in there, helping add to the sort of kind of arpeggio that's going on in there, making it, you know, just a little more interesting to listen to. Then we slow it down a little bit for this next section. I think it helps the listener kind of collect their thoughts. It helps us collect our thoughts a little bit more before we go into this breakdown moment. It gives you a moment to kind of reflect on everything that's happened in this drop after adding that last element of the guitar. Now, obviously, throughout all of this, there's certainly more. We have our textures, and there's a lot of interesting stuff in here. We're just going to kind of move through these a little quickly, but we've got this arpeggio that's happening. Now, at first, it's just kind of soloed on, I believe, quarter notes. Yeah, you can hear it. And this is just a sample manipulation thing that you can do really quickly in Ableton in the warp parameters. If you just go to set it to beats, and then preserve, and you can change it to, you know, like any kind of notation that you want, half notes, quarter notes, etc. Or you can go on the transients themselves. And then this is the envelope that you can set that helps, you know, pick the sort of volume fade that's going to be applied at each segment, whatever that is, like, you know, either the quarter notes or the eighth notes, etc. So you can hear the spacer. This is it without the beats being changed on it. This is what it sounds like naturally. But with the warping done to it. Just helps to, again, sort of introduce the idea before we go and bring all of it in here. Now, the next bit are these sort of toy box voices that I have.
Circle A, green, circle A, star.
You know, it's just kind of fun stuff. It's, you know, it's called Children of Earth. And even though the song itself is reflecting more so on, like, humanity as a whole being the children of Earth, I still wanted to play with some of those kind of childlike elements in there leading into Fear and sort of helping with the full scope of the album. We'll talk a little bit more about it when we get to the very end of it as we're talking to Happiness, but it's important to sort of remember that we're starting with this youthfulness here, and that's why I wanted to introduce these elements with that little toy box. Now we've got some cool verbed keys happening, some reverbed keys. This little texture and this beep, as well as this kind of laser. And they all work together to create kind of, you know, a really interesting... We'll just listen to all of these together. That's with the arpeggio. Now you can hear I've brought the arpeggio down 2 octaves. And again, that's nothing crazy being done here, like production-wise. You can do this too. This is just, you click on this and you transpose it down 2 octaves. 2 semitones, or 24 semitones is 2 octaves, 12 semitones is 1. good at math, are we? Quick maths. So yeah, so that's the ARP. We've brought it down 2 octaves, which adds another interesting low-end presence, but it helps switch it up from what you heard over here just to keep y'all on your toes. So let's talk about this breakdown. As you can see, it is a barren wasteland. We've taken away the bells, no organ chords, the bass is gone, the guitar is gone, everything you've come to know and love has been taken from you, except for this sample. As well as some playground sounds, but they're not very exciting. They're just there to add some texture and atmosphere. But the sample, that's the interesting thing. Let's listen to this guy.
Hello from the children of Hello from the children of planet. Hello from the children of planet. Hello from the children of planet.
All right. So on this first one, you can see we've done some we've got this envelope going on with the transposition of the clip. That's just pitch shifting it up. We go down to like 8 semitones and then up to 6 and then back down to 5. You know, just basic warping just to make it kind of seem a little weird, wobbly technology is happening here. And then you hear it more left alone to give you a little more clue into what that just was.
Hello from the children of planet.
We've got a beat repeat happening there that you can see, and that and the auto filter are both automated to be doing some interesting things throughout this whole piece. But the more interesting thing is this reverse. Now, I will admit I cheated a little bit. It's not a super clean 100% reverse. You know, if you listen, you can even see it in the waveform, but if you look at them, you know, I mean, you know, it's pretty close, but we've warped it a little bit. We've grabbed some of these transients and just made them a little more pleasing to the ear when you have it in reverse, like these. Irking my mushroom pull. That's all I hear every time. It's as I've been working on this and was editing it, that's like seared in my brain. But yeah, so we really just follow into this natural kind of boogie rhythm that comes with this. I mean, like, come on, even with nothing else added, you can tell, oh yeah, you can find the rhythm in that. Tap your foot along, you can boogie. It's a time, but it's more of a boogie when you bring in the drums. And the drums are a bit different from what we had earlier. We now have this interesting percussion, which is made up of like camera sounds. And then this full kit is, again, we have this kit from earlier with the breakdown. We had this breakbeat earlier in that drop section. So let's listen to it all with the drums coming in. Ooh, come on, what? Yeah. All right, before we bring the chords back in, so that's that. Let's listen to them a little isolated. Here's that percussion. Right, really interesting. I love how that sounds. And then there's this kit. Another breakbeat, you know, I'm all about the breakbeats. We bring this breakbeat in with the chords after they've been introduced back in. But let's listen to the breakbeat. Classic breakbeat, you know. You can hear them all together. Which is a lot of fun. And then, of course, the chords are in here doing their thing as well. You bring in that breakbeat. So that is just, I've affected the shit out of that sample. You can see it, we've warped it to shit. Let's just listen to it on its own. It's just that hello. I just sort of wanted, you know, we were at that break point. I didn't want to have it be the exact same sample you'd heard every time. You've heard it enough at this point to be very familiar with it. So just giving you this little taste. You know what it is, and it provides a wonderful moment to lead us into. And now what that is basically we bring the guitar back in, we bring in, you know, our bass, the bells are in there. We're coming back to that sound we introduced here, leading us, but we're still sticking with this breakbeat and this percussion. As you can see, things are not quite back to normal.
Hello from the children of planet Earth.
And that's just the sample shifted up higher now and back to the sample that you're used to. And then at that point, that takes us into the sound that we had at the top here. We're really sort of in the full swell of our original theme and tune of everything. And you can hear it just sort of ride out to the end. Left with just that juicy bass, those chords, and the bell doing its thing. And then that would take us into the transition out of this and into Fear. So that'll wrap this up. So that was track 2, Children of Earth. Thank y'all so much for watching. Next time we're going to be talking about the first poetry track on the album. So keep listening, sharing it with your friends, and I'll catch y'all next time.